welcome to my live. Welcome to my channel. How you guys doing? And of course, above all, welcome to Gemini season. You know, I always tell myself that I'm going to kind of get on top of when the seasons change so I can tell you guys maybe a week earlier, hey, I'm going live. We're going to do teachings. We're going to talk about the cards. And I'm excited for Gemini season, especially to teach you guys the differences between the lovers cards because they do change from deck to deck. I think it's one of the few cards that really change according to like who created it. So I'm really excited to teach you guys that. But I haven't been on top of it because it's like the 20th happens and I go, oh shit, we just changed seasons. I gotta talk about it. So anyway, I'm excited to talk to you guys about that. And then we'll do some readings as well at the end. Not personal, but we're going to do a collective reading. I'm going to pull cards for the collective, for the energy of Gemini. Okay, so let's get started with now, why the lovers, right? Because the lovers is, according to the Golden Dawn, according to tarot tradition, right? Whatever tradition is, the lovers is the card associated with Gemini. So that's why I'm going to be talking about it today. Now, the first one I want to talk about is the most common, which is from the Rider-Waite Smith, and it's the lovers. Hey, Murphy, how you doing, love? Hi. Welcome to Gemini season. Murphy, what sign are you? I don't know what sign you are. For some reason, I'm thinking like one of the later ones, like Sagittarius or Capricorn or something, but let me know. Okay, so the first lovers I want to talk about is from the Rider-Waite Smith deck. It's the most known, and I took a Sharpie and I put the little sigil for Gemini. Now here, Pamela Coleman Smith was the artist, and she decided to depict basically the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve. Because this card, according to the Golden Dawn, is kind of like the creation of the Garden of Eden, right? Of course, as a metaphor. But then we have Eve, Adam, the tree of ascension, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Here we have the apples and the serpent behind Eve. Now, we pretty much change Capricorn, star, Sagittarius, everything. Really? Do you have a lot of Sagittarius in your chart? Okay, so then the next one is from the Thoth. I don't know why I said that like a New Yorker. The Thoth. It's from the Thoth Oracle. And it's, again, of course, the Lover's card, but completely different, right? Well, similar in the way that we have a couple and they're facing each other, but this one is really depicting the alchemical marriage. Here we have, actually, the masculine. Here we have the masculine holding a wand. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. And the inner child of the masculine is also holding the wand. Then we have the feminine holding a cup, and the inner child of the feminine is also holding the cup. Now, this is the alchemical wedding, which is fire and water coming together. Ooh, your actual lover is Gemini. Ooh, there you go. I love that. So we have Aleister Crowley is the creator of the Thoth Tarot, and Lady Frida Harris is the one who painted this. So they decided to depict the alchemical wedding, this fire and water energy coming together. Now, I'm going to show you guys on the Tree of Life what that means more from the perspective of like the masculine, feminine, and why it's really a combination of the two. Another thing that I want to talk about, I should have, hold on one second, everybody. I should have put these cards in order, but I didn't. Okay, so we've got number 0. Good afternoon, Andy. How's it going? We have number 0, which is the Fool. Usually a lot of people put this card first. So I'm going to do that as well. So we have the Fool. Then in chronological order of the tarot, we have the Magician, number 1. Number 2 is the High Priestess. I have a point, I promise. The Empress is number 3. Emperor, number 4. And we have the Hierophant, number 5. You lost your bunny? And of course, number 6 is the Lovers. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but this is the first time. So the major arcana is called the Fool's Journey, right? Because of the Fool right here. And the Fool's number is 0, so he kind of belongs everywhere. Also, from, oh crap, what's his name? Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey, right? So the major arcana sometimes is called the Hero's Journey. Now, the Lovers is the first time the Fool is encountered with somebody else. You know what I mean? Here we have, of course, the opposite gender, but it's really this thing, this person outside yourself that has their own ideas and their own philosophies, their own personalities, basically. So that also depicts the Lovers in some way, where it's like, you're not that different from me, but you're also very different from me because you're somebody else, right? All right. Let's shift a little bit. I have more to talk, but we have a bit of a lecture in the beginning here. So let's shift a little bit to the Golden Dawn. The Golden Dawn is the secret society who gave us the tarot that we know today. So they depicted the Lovers this way. Very different from the loving couple that we see in the beginning, right? Here we have what's supposed to be Andromeda. I believe it's a Greek myth. We have Andromeda, and then we have Perseus. Perseus is coming down to release Andromeda. Now, the thing is, Andromeda here is supposed to represent our lower nature. When I say lower, I think whenever we say lower, especially in the spiritual aspect, we think of lower as negative, right? As like lower, beneath us or something. But it's really just this carnal, physical, living in the world thing, right? Survival, for example. So she represents that. She represents kind of like our physical world, our lower personalities in some way. And she's tied up to the rock of the physical. Then we have Perseus, which is a representative of our higher self, coming to rescue the lower self. Now, it's a really interesting depiction because I've done this for a long time, and I think a lot of us do as well. Whenever we want to embody our higher selves, right? We want to kind of like reach our higher selves. But we think of reaching, we think of like, okay, I'm going to meditate and I'm going to just think of the higher self and embody the higher self. But I like how this depiction is the higher self coming down to us. It's almost like if you are sitting in meditation and you're trying to uncover and embody your higher self more, this depiction is like, try to bring the higher self down to your consciousness, not to trap him down here, but so the higher self can pull us up. Does that make sense? It's like we're bringing the higher self down to our level of consciousness. So the higher self can go, hey, I see you, eye to eye, right here, we're the same, come with me, right? Elevate, rise up with me, be free with me. So I really like that for some reason. Okay, another thing that I want to talk about is the path on the tree of life and why the Lovers, although depicted separately, right? All of us here are depicted separately when it comes to living reality. But, it's this spiritual concept that, even though, it's my opinion, this is my opinion now, but maybe because I don't quite grasp it yet in a rational way, whenever I hear someone being like, oh, I get it, we're all one. I'm like, yeah, I get it too, but I feel like that human mentality, right, the ego kind of thing gets in the way and you're like, okay, I see it, but, right? Anyway, so here we have the top of the tree, which is called Bina. And the Lovers is this diagonal path right here going into the sun. So we have Saturn. And here on the Tree of Life, we have this Sephiroth, or this sphere, as the great sea, or the great divine feminine. It all comes from the single point, which is source, and then it splits into the divine masculine and then the divine feminine, which I'm just gonna say but Kabbalah has associated with Saturn. and the great divine feminine. But then this energy goes diagonally into the sun. Now, know how the sun is not all the way across on the masculine pillar, but it's actually on the middle pillar of equilibrium and balance. The pillar of equilibrium and balance. So here we have the sun, illumination, joy, also sacrifice. When you're thinking of level of consciousness, this is the Christ consciousness, this is Buddha consciousness, Osiris, Odin, all the sacrificed gods kind of live here, if you will. But it is on the middle pillar. What that means is it has brought through the two aspects of divine feminine and masculine and brought balance into it, right? I'm kind of thinking of Jesus right now, for example, right? I don't mean to trigger anyone who's not Christian or has some Christian trauma. I know I do, but like any mythology, it's all metaphorical. But in my eyes, Jesus was depicted as masculine, but he also acted in a very feminine way. He didn't really fight with brute force. He healed people. He performed Reiki. He performed miracles, right? Which we can attribute to a very divine feminine power. And he also promoted peace, right? He didn't promote war and harsh transformative change. He really promoted this heart-centered change. Also, if you're putting this tree of life kind of like on the body, the heart space would be here in the sun, which is called Tiferet. So when we see the lovers, or now that we're in the season of Gemini, really what we're doing here is simultaneously seeing the separation between you and I, this separation between you and partners, friends, family, other people, but also seeing how we are the same, how we are together, how this alchemical wedding, I love how this depiction here kind of crosses each other. So we're seeing how this alchemical wedding really is a union of the two. And it's really within the self, right? Okay, I hope that's making sense to you guys. But that is the energy of Gemini, according to the tarot. That is the energy that collectively we're kind of going through today, through this season. I mean, we're starting today because today is the 20th, the official start of Gemini season. But yeah, I hope that makes sense to you guys. All right, let's pull some cards and see more collectively what we're looking at and what we're going through. I'm gonna shuffle one more time. Then we're gonna pull 3 cards. We got the 4 of Cups coming first. We've got the Fool coming next. And one more. The 6 of Pentacles. Hello, Fire Queen. Hello from the Netherlands. How are you? Welcome. Thank you. All right. So we just pulled some cards, so we're going to get started. So the first one is the 4 of Cups, and it's perfect because the esoteric name for this card is called the Lord of Blended Pleasure. It's everything I just talked about. Isn't that awesome? I love how tarot works because we just talked about the lovers, right? And how the lovers, it is these two people, but really it's this alchemical wedding inside the self, blending both our feminine and masculine, blending both our opposing ideas. I think one of the curious, amazing, confusing things of being human is that we can hold opposite thoughts at the same time. Oh, welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. So here we have the lovers talking about this union of the self. And of course we have the 4 of Cups, which is as I just said, the Lord of blended pleasure. So blending, bringing that together, right? But also, I do love this depiction how it's from the lotus of the divine here, it pours into these two top cups. And once these two cups are full, then it pours onto other cups, other people. Very cliche to say, but I think we've all heard this before, but I'm going to say it again. Fill your cup, fill your own cup. Whatever overflows, that's for other people. That's for your relationships, your situationships, whatever it is that you're dealing with. But really, fill your own cup first, because from the Four of Cups, we can feel very depleted very quickly if we don't allow ourselves to just kind of be fulfilled whenever we need to. Okay, next is the Fool. Now, I do love this energy because in the Golden Dawn Tarot, we have a little child here picking a yellow rose, and then we have this wolf. There is this balance. Again, Gemini are all about balance. Geminis and Libras tend to be about balance, opposites, seeing the other and almost seeing the distortion and the difference in trying to find a balance between the two. So the Fool here is depicted by the innocence of the child, right? But then it's also depicted by the very real danger of the destruction of the wolf. That's what the wolf represents, this kind of growling energy that's kind of always lurking in some way, bit of a dark energy. But again, it's about blending, a blending of the two and understanding that. What is that saying? That Native American story of like, we have two wolves inside of us, and whichever one wins is the one you feed, kind of thing. The Fool is very similar to that story. Do we want to choose the innocence and the wonder of the child? That's us, who wants to look at nature and wants to explore and be like, I'm gonna see this. Or do we feed into fear, right? Now, it is my belief that we're never really unafraid. We're never really devoid, am I saying that? Void of fear. We're never without fear. But we can choose to move with it. Almost like a dare to the self, being like, I'm gonna show you fear. I'm gonna show myself that I'm gonna do this. Whether I follow my face or not, I'm gonna move through this. So we move with fear. I do love how actually the child here is holding a leash. So this fear, this destructive energy is kept at a leash, right? You almost like training your dog and somebody heel, come close, or like sit kind of thing. We get to train the self that way. If you're kind of having that hard breathing, that heavy breathing kind of thing, sweaty palms, things like that, take a deep breath, tell your fear to sit down and move forward. You're not gonna go without it, but you're gonna go with it, but you're still gonna go. That's the energy. All right, final card. Actually, I'm gonna pull from an oracle, so as well. Final card from the tarot is the Six of Cups. Again, the energy here is all about blending. Isn't that crazy? Magic is real. Because the Six of Cups here, everything here is very even. We have 3 cups on each side, and all of them have a rose that has blossomed. Also, all of them have a little bud that hasn't risen yet, that hasn't blossomed yet. So there is an energy here very similar to the Four of Cups, where trust that once this rose has already blossomed, then the other one's gonna blossom too. Basically, keep doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? I don't have a green thumb. I've never really been successful at growing plants. I've tried, but haven't really. But what I'm saying is, once it had, we've done all the things, right? We've given it water, we've given it the good soil, we've given it sunlight, all that it needs, and then a rose has blossomed. keep doing what you're doing, because then it just continues to grow. It's not about like, oh my God, it has worked, I need to go harder at it. It's more about like, I'm gonna keep giving what I have been giving, because then it'll give back to me what I've been giving. I keep saying the same thing, but there is this energy of give and take from the Six of Cups. Oh, sorry, Six of Pentacles. Also, six is a card of harmony, kind of like how the six loops into itself. So yes, it is that spiral. It is the energy of I give and receive. So be open to both. Be open to giving and receiving. That's how we achieve that blended pleasure. We give to others through the water here, but we also get to receive from others, from the universe. It's really the same energy. It's this open door that goes both ways, in and out. If you're open to giving, you're also at the same time open to receiving. It's the same gift, essentially. So if you're more open to receiving than you are to giving, we want to find that balance between the two. And vice versa. If you're more open to giving, right? If you're just a giver, and you're exhausted, that means you haven't given yourself the time to replenish. And you need to. All right. I'm going to pull from an oracle, and then we'll be done for today. Oh, actually, I forgot to say one thing. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Fire Queen. Appreciate that. Okay, from the oracle, we got the Messenger. You know what's interesting? Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the Roman god. Hermes is the Greek god, which is Thoth and all that, but it's the messenger of the gods. So interesting that we have Mercury coming through here as the messenger. Oh my God. Okay. You can't make this shit up. It literally says down here, bringing harmony and balance. Suck it. Everything I said, ba-bam, bringing harmony and balance. That's what Gemini season is all about. That's the whole message. Bringing harmony and balance. Okay. The one thing that I forgot to tell you guys is the Hebrew letter that is associated with the Lovers, which is Zayn. Here's the Lovers. And the Hebrew letter is Zayn, which means sword. Now, of course we can see the sword better. Okay, hold on. Give me a second, because I pulled the Lovers from this deck, and then I put it back to shuffle, and now I can't find it. But let me find it to show you guys, because you can see the sword here as Perseus holds the sword to save Andromeda. It's gonna be the last one, isn't it? Yes, son of a bitch. Oh, here it is. Okay, so we have Perseus up here holding the sword of freedom, the sword of liberation, right? That's basically what the sword is, sword of liberation. Now, I was also reminded of, no, I'm doing for everybody, Fire Queen. I'm kind of doing this collective reading for Gemini season. That's why I keep going back to the Lovers card, because the Lovers is, in the tarot, the Gemini card, you know? So I'm kind of talking about collective energy, how we're all going to kind of go through, or are already going through, this harmony, balance kind of thing, right? Now, it sounds all beautiful when I say harmony and balance, because who doesn't want that, right? Beautiful words. But remember that the sword is here, right? Even though we have balance and harmony, the sword is here. And the sword can also be a cause or a weapon for war, right? To me, to achieve harmony and balance, we need boundaries. We need to kind of have a bit of a fire to say something. If someone has been stepping over you, stepping boundaries, if they've been kind of poking at you a little bit too much, it's up to us to be like, can you stop that? And be firm about it. That's kind of like the sword energy of like, be firm about it and say, I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to set a boundary and cut this problem out. But I was also reminded of another Greek myth. I believe it's Greek, where the first humans were actually, we had 4 arms, 4 legs, and 2 heads, or 2 faces, like back to back kind of thing. Have you guys ever seen Hedwig and the Angry Inch? That's a movie, or in the play as well. And there's a song in there called The Origin of Love. I love that song, The Origin of Love. And it talks about this, how human beings used to be basically 2 people kind of like back to each other, right? 2 legs, sorry, 4 legs, 4 arms, 2 heads. But Zeus kind of got scared of our power or something, and he cut us in half. Our punishment has been to look for our other half for the rest of our lives. I think that's how the Greeks kind of explained soulmates, or twin flames as we call them nowadays. So that's a whole different thing. Well, it's not a different thing. It's just I have my own opinions on twin flames, and we'll talk about that another day. But I love that because he used his lightning bolt, or the sword. Now, on the tree of life, when you go down the tree, it's actually called the lightning path or the sword path. Isn't that interesting? So when we go from Bina to Tiferet, or from Saturn to the sun, we're kind of cutting that down. We're kind of bringing the sword down into illumination. Yeah, it's right interesting, right? Yeah, a lot of ancient Indian kind of symbology, right? Of many arms, many legs kind of thing. Very interesting. I'm glad you picked up on that. So then there is that sword that cuts things in half, that cuts things away, right? So again, it goes back to that separation of the two, right? We're kind of seeing these 2 separate beings, but really underneath it all, beyond the veil, it's all unified. It's all one. It's all different aspects of the self. And I feel like Gemini season is going to start bringing a lot of that to light. And to seek harmony, like I said earlier, it requires a bit of fire. It requires a bit of sword energy to go, I'm going to say this, I'm going to set a boundary, I'm going to set a limit, or I'm going to use this. You know how people are like walking the jungle and they like cut leaves and branches to open up the way? You can also do the same thing with a sword. You're also choosing to go that way, and like, I'm going to open up a way for myself. Even though it's a little bit maybe overgrown, I'm going to cut that out and like open up a way to myself. Okay, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for joining me on this live. I'm going to try and remember next month. What's next month? Cancer season, right? We're going to enter Cancer season. I'm going to try and promote this live a little bit earlier so you guys can catch me from the beginning. So you guys know when I'm going live. I completely forgot, and today was the 20th, and I was like, oh shit, today is Gemini season. So I just came on live, and I was like, what's up? All right, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you guys next month.